Welcome to Transport Vlog. My name is Paul and this video is going to be all about the Parramatta Light Rail. It's October 2021 as I'm recording this, so I'm going to give you an update on how the Parramatta Light Rail is going. Behind me is the new stop for Westmead Station, so this will be the terminus of Parramatta Light Rail. So what I'm going to do is go for a bit of a walk, show you where all the intermediate stops are going to be, also show you where the new maintenance facility is going to be, and hopefully get all the way up to Carlingford, which is the other end of the Parramatta Light Rail, by the end of today. Let's see what happens. So this is my multicoloured map of the Parramatta Light Rail scheme. As you can see, it starts at Westmead Station. It then serves 3 hospitals, the North Parramatta area, then Parramatta CBD, then it heads west for a little while and then takes over what was the old Carlingford railway line. The different colours on the map do mean something, and this will all be revealed during the course of this video. The first section will be wire free and will run on streets that are shared with other traffic. So this is indicated in purple on the map. This section will run along Hawkesbury Road. So this is the location of the Westmead Station stop. The Hawkesbury Road is over on the left. Railway Parade is immediately behind me and the Westmead Railway Station is on the other side of this road. When Sydney Metro West opens in 2030, Westmead will become a major interchange location. You can see the traffic lights for the Railway Parade and Hawkesbury Road Junction in the background, and most of the work here seems to be related to either drainage or excavation. However, at the other end it's much more interesting, with tracks being laid and a crossover junction. From what I can see here, it looks like the Westmead stop will have 2 platforms. You'll see quite a lot of these exposed tracks in this video. It seems like they put the tracks in place and then they pour the concrete between them. If you know more about how this works, do let me know in the comments. With the junction now over on the left, you can see that the concrete is in place for this section of track. And Hawkesbury Road is immediately behind it. From here the tracks now join Hawkesbury Road. This is quite a major road junction with Darcy Road on the right. This is Hawkesbury Road, now looking towards Westmead Hospital. So the first 3 stops after Westmead Station serve 3 different hospitals. The first one being Westmead Hospital, and this stop's going to be around about here. So the Westmead Hospital stop will be just slightly north of Caroline Street. There is no evidence of this actual stop as yet, but this is where it will be. Westmead Hospital is behind me. And here it is. All the track from just outside Westmead Station to here is already in place. As mentioned earlier, the process seems to be to put the track in place and then pour concrete around it to create these concrete track beds like this one here. And as I mentioned at the start, this section will be shared with other vehicles, including regular bus services such as this one. A lot of work is happening either side of the track bed, and I think this is all to do with improving drainage. Now looking north, and where the bus is where the line will take a sharp right. Here is another exposed section of track. On some parts of the line, including here between Westmead Hospital and the Children's Hospital, earthworks are still taking place before track laying can begin. You can see how the line will take a sharp right turn here. Tracks have been laid where the line curves to the right, and you can see that they're quite exposed here. But if you look closely, you can see parts of the concrete track bed appearing. So what seems to be happening is that a concrete slab is put in place first, then the tracks are put on top of this, and then further concrete is poured to embed the tracks and provide a surface that's suitable for other vehicles. Am I on the right track? Let me know in the comments. So about where I'm standing now is where the next stop will be. It's going to be called Children's Hospital at Westmead. Interesting name, not quite sure why it's not being called Westmead Children's Hospital. I'm sure there's a good reason. If you know, do let me know in the comments. So this stop is on Hainsworth Street and is just after the line makes a sharp right turn. So this is where this stop will be. You can see the beginnings of a concrete track bed just beyond the location of this stop. and this stop is literally right next to the Children's Hospital. After this stop, the line descends slightly and then takes a slight left towards Bridge Road. The trees in the background are the edge of Parramatta Park. Here is another close-up of some exposed track. This is on Hainsworth Road shortly after the Children's Hospital stop. If you have any idea what this metal square mesh material might be used for, then do let me know in the comments. This is where the line turns left onto Bridge Road. This section is still wire free, with the light rail vehicles taking power from batteries that will be on the roof. However, the section along Bridge Road will be segregated from other traffic, so this warrants a different colour on my map. So wire-free segregated sections are indicated in light blue. This is now looking towards the Parramatta River. Bridge Road is over on the left. And if you're wondering how I'm getting this uninterrupted footage, it's through the fencing of one of the many public walkways that cross the line. Here is a view of the approach to a new bridge that will take the light rail over the Parramatta River. And just before this bridge over the Parramatta River, it looks like something might be constructed to the right of the line. And here is a view of this bridge. The new bridge is immediately to the right of the existing road bridge on Bridge Road. And here is a closer view. This is the existing road bridge, and here is a view of the Parramatta River that this new bridge is crossing. So this is a view of the new bridge from the existing road bridge. It's now looking towards the Cumberland Hospital side. And here's a closer view of the bridge from a gap in the fence. And now looking at this bridge from the Cumberland Hospital side. This is one of 6 new bridges being built for Parramatta Light Rail. One of these bridges is very impressive, so keep watching to find out which one that is. So behind me is the start of the green section. It's still wire free at this point and still segregated as well. So as it goes through the grounds of the Cumberland Hospital, it's going to blend in really nicely with nature, hence the green section. Now, apparently this is something that's been done very successfully in Europe, so it'll be interesting to see how it works here. This is one of 3 green sections, and this one starts just east of the Parramatta River Bridge and then runs through the Cumberland Hospital grounds. At the start of the green section, as you can see, there is a lot of drainage work required before track laying can start. Notice the orange and white pipes on the right hand side. I reckon that about 80% of the track is laid, but there are sections such as this one where further earthwork is required first. In this case, it isn't long before you see further evidence of track laying. It's interesting here how the tracks are sandwiched on either side with concrete, but there's no concrete in the middle. This makes me wonder if something green is going to go in the middle instead. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. This is looking back through the hospital grounds towards the Parramatta River. And here's some more evidence of drainage work taking place. So around about here is where the Cumberland Hospital stop will be. This also marks the end of the green section, and this is also where the first wired section starts, so it's overhead wires from here. So here is the location of the Cumberland Hospital stop on the map. The green section actually finishes at the Eastern Circuit, so shortly before this stop. Behind me is Eastern Circuit, and this is where the green section has just finished. The track will make a slight left turn towards Fleet Street, and it's just beyond this curve that the stop will be. This is looking back towards the location of the Cumberland Hospital stop from Fleet Street. The next section will have overhead wires and runs along Factory Street and Church Street and will be shared with other traffic. So overhead wire street running sections are indicated in red. The overhead wires will provide power to the trams but also recharge their batteries as well, so they can run wire free through the central Parramatta area. This is the line crossing Fleet Street. Just here Fleet Street becomes New Street. Immediately east of Fleet Street is a crossover junction. I guess with the switch from wire free to overhead wires, it makes sense to have a crossover here. Here is a view of the same crossover from the opposite direction, so looking towards Fleet Street. And notice the small orange pipes here to provide drainage. And now that the track is going up Factory Street, it's no longer segregated from other traffic. And here it bends to the right to join Church Street. So where these shops are is where the Factory Street stop is going to be. The light rail alignment has just taken a sharp right and is now heading in the direction of Parramatta CBD. So here is the location of the Factory Street stop on the map. It's the first stop that is not a hospital, and it's one of the stops that serves the North Parramatta area. The stop will be conveniently placed alongside these local shops. Here is another view of the tracks taking a fairly sharp right before serving the Factory Street stop. This is just south of the Factory Street stop, looking north. Over on the right is St Patrick's Cemetery. Now just south of the junction with Pennant Hills Road, looking north. And if you've ever wondered what uprooted traffic signals look like, well, now you know. As I approach Fennel Street, it feels like I'm walking through a construction site, and it's pretty cool to be walking on the light rail line itself. Luckily it's pretty well signposted. So behind me is where the Fennel Street stop will be. So the Fennel Street stop is immediately to the north of Fennel Street. There are a few shops and offices that will be served by the new Fennel Street stop. This is Fennel Street as it crosses Church Street. And this is the location of the Fennel Street stop. With all the stops so far, I've not seen any evidence of any platforms or shelters as yet. I think it's still too early for that. Now at the junction with Grove Street. And between Grove Street and Ross Street there is plenty more drainage work happening. This is the view from Ross Street heading north. Notice how the line ascends slightly. So I'm now in Prince Alfred Park, and behind me is where the Prince Alfred Square stop is going to be. So it will be immediately south of Victoria Road. It's also the last stop before the line crosses the Parramatta River again. Also at this stop, the overhead wires end, so it's wire-free operation through the Parramatta CBD. So we're back to the purple colour on the map, but not for long. This is a view of where this stop will be from St Alfred Park. As this church comes into view, I'm wondering if this is the reason that this road is called Church Street. If you know, let me know in the comments. At the junction of Church Street and Market Street, we have another change of colour, this time to orange. Orange represents wire-free, light rail and pedestrian only sections. And this section runs from Market Street to just before Macquarie Street, where the line goes round to the left. So this is looking back towards the Prince Alfred Square stop. The road coming into view now is Market Street, and this marks the point where it changes to light rail vehicles and pedestrians only. This is the Church Street Bridge crossing the Parramatta River. The Parramatta Light Rail will go over this bridge. There is lots of light rail construction activity happening on the bridge itself, and also immediately to the north of this bridge. But when you look through the fencing, you can see that the tracks are all there, and on the inside of each line, and in black, looks like some kind of drainage channel. However, it looks like the tracks currently end immediately on the north side of this bridge. Once south of this bridge, the tracks look completely finished, and you're free to walk on them, which is exactly what I did. It's wonderful to see a section of track that is completely finished, and it seems to blend in so well with Church Street and the shops on either side. And it gives the residents of this area something to really look forward to. On the approach to Phillip Street, you can see very clearly the tram only signs on the road. And the traffic signal here is all set up for trams as well. So now in the heart of Parramatta on Church Street, or is it Eat Street? I'm not quite sure, but anyway, this location here is where the Eat Street stop is going to be. So the Eat Street stop is on Church Street between Phillip Street and George Street. So currently looking north from the location of the Eat Street stop. Here are some of the shops that will be nearby, and now looking south. On either side of the tracks are these green verges, and I think these might be the future platforms. Once south of George Street, as you can see, it's not quite as finished. You can see the line now turning left to join Macquarie Street. Here is a closer view of the turn onto Macquarie Street. As you can see, it's quite a sharp left turn here. Now on Macquarie Street looking east. Now just east of the junction with Horwood Place, and you can see that the track is a lot less finished here. Coming into view now is another crossover junction, just like the one you saw earlier at Westmead. This crossover is on the approach to the Parramatta Square stop, and I reckon its main use would be to allow a tram that has terminated at Parramatta Square, that has come from Carlingford, to reverse and go back towards Carlingford. This crossover junction is right outside the Lee Memorial Church, and this section of Macquarie Street will be for light rail vehicles and pedestrians only. So immediately behind me is where the Parramatta Square stop is going to be. So it's on Macquarie Street, shortly before the junction with Smith Street. This station and the short section before it where the crossover is for light rail vehicles and pedestrians only. This stop will also provide a convenient interchange with Sydney Metro when the Parramatta Metro station opens in 2030. Here is a view of where the station will go. This is looking east. Now looking west with Smith Street behind me. There's not a lot here at the moment, not even any evidence of any tracks. The next section to Harris Street is still wire free. It continues along Macquarie Street, and this section will be shared with other traffic. So we're back to the purple colour. On the other side of the Smith Street junction, you can see that there is one light rail track, and that looks pretty much finished. But where is the other one? Well, it's just here, but it's been covered over with tarmac. You can see one of the rails here. Now looking east, both tracks are now visible and they look pretty much finished. Now continuing along Macquarie Street towards Harris Street, some sections look very unfinished and other sections look pretty much done. So behind me is where the Harris Street stop is going to be. After that the line takes a sharp left and there is another green section. So the Harris Street stop is towards the end of Macquarie Street on the junction with Harris Street. This is the view looking west. Harris Street is behind me. You can see that this area is largely residential. This is the view from Macquarie Street looking west towards Harris Street. Notice all the orange and white pipes on the other side, which will be used for drainage. The next green section starts with a sharp left turn as the line follows Harris Street, and then a sharp right turn as the line follows George Street. Notice how close this green section is to the Parramatta River. This green section is also segregated from other traffic. This other line on the map is the proposed alignment for Sydney Metro West. You can see this for yourself by going to openstreetmap.org. Here is a view of the start of the green section as the line turns left. The trees on the other side are within Robin Thomas Reserve. Now looking the other way, you can see the location of the Harris Street stop on the left. And now the line turning left and heading north, and in the distance where you can see the cars is George Street. And just like on the Cumberland Hospital section, notice that there are gaps in the concrete between the running rails. I believe these gaps will be filled in with soil and grass and maybe other shrubs, with the finished result looking something like this. This is where the line will turn right to run adjacent to George Street. And this is how it looks from the opposite side with George Street behind me. This is now looking towards Harris Street with George Street on the right. Here is the view of the whole of the green section, starting as it goes along Harris Street, and then turning right to run adjacent to George Street. The Parramatta River is behind George Street, and then continuing east towards Tramway Avenue. And here is what it looks like from the Parramatta River side. You can now see why it makes so much sense for this to be a green section. And the Parramatta River is just here on the left. You can see how this section is ready for something green to go in the middle. Towards the other end of this green section, there is continuing earthwork and track laying taking place. Here are some more close-ups of this work. George Street is over on the right. The green section ends at the junction with Purchase Street. The line then continues along George Street to the junction with Alfred Street, where another green section begins. So this is how it looks on this section of George Street. At the end of this road, the line bends to the left. So this is the start of the next green section. So from here the line goes up Alfred Street, so it's a sharp left onto Alfred Street. And then shortly afterwards, at the location where this apartment building is appearing, it turns right onto Tramway Avenue. Here it is again on the map. I'm not sure if the section from Purchase Street to where it turns right after Alfred Street will be segregated or street running. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Here's a view of the left turn onto Alfred Street. And here you could also see how it bends right onto Tramway Avenue. The next stop is Tramway Avenue, and it's here. You can see that it's an area that's got some modern apartment buildings that are coming up here, so very much a residential area, pretty quiet around here at the moment. So the Tramway Avenue stop is on Tramway Avenue itself, and it's in the middle of the third and final green section. The Tramway Avenue stop will serve a residential area with modern apartment buildings such as these and some older houses on the other side of this road. This section is still very much at the earthworks stage. From Tramway Avenue onwards all the way to Carlingford, the line will now have overhead wires. But not just overhead wires, this section is also segregated from other traffic. This is the first segregated section with overhead wires, so this means another new colour for the map. And as the light rail will soon join the old Carlingford line, it will now be segregated all the way to Carlingford. Also, the section from the Tramway Avenue stop to the junction with Arthur Street is still part of the third green section, but it has overhead wires, so it's the only green section with overhead wires, hence the darker green colour on the map. And now coming into view is a very important new bridge that will take the line over James Ruse Drive. Now James Ruse Drive is a very busy road, so really the light rail had to either go under it or over it, so it's really good to see that there's a bridge here. And here is a closer view of this bridge, and here is the location of this bridge on the map. And also from Tramway Avenue to Carlingford, there's going to be a shared path that will allow people to cycle or walk, and that shared path will go over this bridge, so that's really good to see as well. And here is the new bridge as it crosses James Ruse Drive. This is looking from west to east. As you can see, James Ruse Drive is pretty busy with 3 lanes of traffic in each direction. This new bridge is the second longest steel arch bridge in New South Wales. So if this is the second longest, which is the longest? Well, it's the Sydney Harbour Bridge. The top of the steel arch is 15 metres high, and the bridge weighs 1,425 tonnes. You can't close James Ruse Drive for long, so this bridge was installed overnight on the 30th of May 2021. 4 modular self-propelled transporters were used to put this bridge in place. This is the largest of 6 new bridges that are being built for Parramatta Light Rail. You've already seen the one close to the Cumberland Hospital, so there's 4 more to go. The local community and stakeholders are being encouraged to submit possible names for this bridge, with the decision being decided by Transport for New South Wales shortly. This bridge is 64 metres long and is 16 metres above this road. Now looking from the west side, this is the elevated section on the approach to the bridge. As I mentioned earlier, the bridge is for light rail vehicles, but also for a shared path for people to walk and cycle. So I'm now on the other side of James Ruse Drive, and there's a big triangular junction here. So the line basically does a sharp left. It's kind of what you can see behind me. That then joins the old Carlingford line, and straight ahead, which is kind of around here, the line goes off to the maintenance facility. So the line bends sharply left to join the old Carlingford line. And straight ahead are the tracks that will go to the Parramatta Light Rail maintenance facility in Rose Hill. So here we have a pretty typical triangular junction. It enables trams from the maintenance facility to either head west towards Parramatta or north towards Carlingford. Trams that are in passenger service will use the lines indicated in red. There is also a crossover junction immediately north of the Camellia stop to allow terminating trams to reverse. So here's a view of this from a bridge on Grand Avenue. The tracks to the left head west and go over the new James Ruse Drive bridge. Straight ahead is the line to Carlingford, so trams will take a sharp left turn here to join this line. Just after this left turn is where the Camellia stop will be, although there's no evidence of this stop as yet. The line to the right goes to the new maintenance facility. To the left of the line towards Carlingford is the new shared path for pedestrians and cyclists. The old Carlingford line was single track, so the old track has been ripped up and replaced with two new tracks. Notice the crossover junction just here to allow trams to switch tracks. The Camellia stop will be just south of this. Now on Grand Avenue North looking west, and you can see how the line elevates on the approach to the new James Ruse Drive bridge. Here is a closer view of the junction for the maintenance facility. So as you can see now, the lines towards Carlingford now going off to the left. You can now see the Coates hire vehicle on one of these lines. And now over on the right, you can get a closer view of the tracks that will lead towards the maintenance facility. Now looking west from the maintenance facility lines, you can see that the poles for electrification masts are very visible here. So trams coming into service can either go straight ahead and then up and over the James Ruse Drive bridge to Tramway Avenue, or they can take this junction to the right, passing through the Camellia stop and on to Carlingford. Here is another view of this right turn that trams will make when coming from the maintenance facility to join the line to Carlingford. And here is a view of the line to the maintenance depot. This follows the alignment of the old Sandown railway line. So I managed to find the location of the maintenance facility. It's in Rose Hill Industrial Estate. Luckily there were tram tracks, so I basically just followed them all the way here, as you can see here. So the maintenance facility will be on Grand Avenue, just east of the Rose Hill racecourse. There will also be a control centre for the whole of Parramatta Light Rail at the same location. So this is the construction site for the maintenance facility and the control centre. You can see that the tracks to the entrance are already laid. Here is a view taken from the eastern edge of this site. Ground improvement works, especially to address chemical contamination from previous industrial use, has now been completed. This work has included installing an underground barrier around the site's perimeter. The western edge of this construction site is coming into view. This is along Cahoon Street. So now looking the other way, so with the maintenance facility construction site behind me, you can see the tracks veering off to the left towards James Ruse Drive, but there are also points and tracks going to the right as well. Now I don't know what the purpose of this line to the right is. The only thing that springs to mind is possible forward planning for the Stage 2 extension of Parramatta Light Rail to Sydney Olympic Park. And here is the first tram warning sign I spotted for Parramatta Light Rail. So I'm going to finish the video here and do a part 2. So part 2 will cover basically what was the old Carlingford line, so seeing how the progress is going with converting that to light rail. So if you haven't already subscribed to the Transport Vlog YouTube channel, then please do, and click the notification bell as well. That way you'll be notified when part 2 is ready. If you enjoyed this video, do give it a thumbs up, give it a like, and do leave a comment below. I'd love to know what you think. And also if you have any questions, leave those below as well, and I'll do my best to answer them. If you want to support me on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/transportvlog, or you can click the link in the description below. And I'd like to thank you for watching this video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now.